You have never once, not once in your entire life, accurately predicted the specific thing that actually went wrong. Think about it. All those nights, all those hours of rehearsal, the meeting, the relationship, the money, the health scare. You practiced 1,000 catastrophes in your head, and not one of them showed up the way you rehearsed it. The things that actually hurt you came from directions you never even considered. Your anxiety has an almost perfect record of being wrong about the specifics, and yet you keep doing it like you're getting better at it. 2,000 years ago, a Roman philosopher named Seneca noticed this exact pattern, and his response was, honestly, kind of rude. He said your anxiety is a form of arrogance. Yeah, arrogance. Stay with me. His argument goes like this. When you lie awake running catastrophe scenarios, you are implicitly claiming that you can see the future. You are saying, I know what's coming, and it's bad. Seneca's point is brutal and simple. You don't know. You've never known. The evidence of your entire life proves that you are terrible at this, and yet every night, you climb back into bed and do it again, with the confidence of someone who has been right before. That's the arrogance, not the worry itself, the certainty hiding inside it. He wrote it in a letter to a friend named Lucilius around 64 AD. We suffer more often in imagination than in reality. You've probably seen that quote. It's on every Stoic Instagram page next to a marble bust and some moody lighting. But everyone stops at that line. They treat it like a motivational poster. Oh, I'm just imagining things. Cool. Thanks, Seneca. Very helpful. They miss the second half, the part that actually works. Seneca does not say stop imagining, he says imagine harder, on purpose, all the way to the end, and then watch what happens to the fear when you refuse to flinch. Now you might be thinking, wait, isn't imagining the worst exactly what anxiety already does? Isn't that the whole problem? No, and this is the distinction that changes everything. Anxiety predicts. It claims to know what's coming and then runs from its own prediction. You get halfway to the catastrophe and then you pull back in panic. You never actually arrive. You never see the bottom. You live in the flinch forever. That middle zone where the fear is always growing but never resolving. Seneca's technique is not prediction. It is preparation. You go all the way to the end, not because you know what's coming, but because you accept that you don't, and you prepare for the worst version anyway. He called it PREMEDITATIO MALORUM, the premeditation of evils. What is the actual worst case? Not the vague dread. The specific worst case. You lose the job. She leaves. The diagnosis is bad. You go broke. Now stay there. Look at it. Don't flinch. What would you actually do? You'd find another job. It would suck, but you'd do it. She leaves. You'd grieve. Hard. And then you'd rebuild, because that's what humans have done for 200,000 years. The catastrophe that you imagine is almost always survivable. It really sucks, but survivable. And the moment you see that, really see it, the anxiety deflates. Because anxiety lives in the gap between the fear and the thing feared. It needs that gap. Close it, and the fear has nowhere to hide. That's the rule. Not don't worry, not think positive, not manifest your best self or whatever. Walk toward the thing you fear, all the way to the end, discover that the end has a floor, and come back. So that's the technique. You could stop this video here and go use it tonight. It works. But there's a reason this particular man's advice hits different from whatever your meditation app told you this morning. Seneca did not come up with this from a comfortable place. He came up with it from inside the nightmare. So let me tell you about Seneca, and then let me tell you how he died. Seneca was born around 4 BC in Cordoba, Spain, shipped to Rome young, became a senator, famous speaker, the kind of person powerful people collected, and then his body started failing. Chronic asthma. Not the carry and inhaler kind, the kind where you lie in bed at night genuinely unsure if the next breath will be the last. He described his attacks as practicing dying, casually, in a letter to a friend. He was so sick in his 20s that he considered ending it, not out of sadness, but exhaustion. He couldn't put that weight on his father, so he kept going. Exiled to Corsica for 8 years on fabricated charges, a rock in the middle of nowhere, then recalled to Rome, but only because a terrifyingly ambitious woman named Agrippina needed someone to tutor her 12-year-old son. The boy's name was Nero. He would become emperor of Rome at 16, the most powerful teenager in history. Think Joffrey from Game of Thrones, except real, and with an actual army. For about 5 years, Seneca managed to keep him reasonable. He wrote Nero's speeches, he shaped policy, he kept the worst impulses in check. Historians call those first years some of the best governance Rome ever saw. Then Nero started having people killed. Not himself, no. He had them ordered dead. His mother first, then his wife, then, gradually, anyone who became inconvenient. And Seneca could see where this was heading. He had tutored this boy. He knew the pattern. He was watching his own student become a monster, and he could feel his own name drifting slowly toward the list. Now here's what makes this man remarkable. From that position, watching a teenager with the power of an empire slowly lose his mind, Seneca sat down and wrote to his anxious friend Lucilius, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." He meant it. He was living inside his own worst case and telling Lucilius that even here, the anticipation had been worse than the reality. In 62 AD, Seneca asked Nero to let him retire, offered to give back everything, the estates, the money, all of it. "Just let me go." Nero smiled, embraced him, said there was no need. For 3 years, Seneca lived in slow exile inside Rome, withdrew from public life, wrote more letters to Lucilius, faster, more urgent, as if the correspondence had a deadline. In 65 AD, a group of senators, soldiers, and courtiers formed a conspiracy to assassinate Nero. The plot was led by a man named Gaius Calpurnius Piso. They planned to kill Nero at the games. One of the conspirators' own servants, a former slave who had earned his freedom, got scared and told Nero everything. Nero's response was methodical and brutal. Executions, forced suicides, exile for anyone even loosely connected. Seneca may or may not have known about the plot. It didn't matter. His name came up. And Nero had been waiting for a reason. An officer arrived at his villa with the order, "You are to take your own life." And here is the scene. Seneca did not panic. He turned to his wife Paulina and his friends and told them he was leaving them the only thing he had left, the example of his life. He cut the veins in his arms. The blood flowed slowly. He was old and thin. He cut the veins behind his knees and in his legs, still too slow. He asked for hemlock, a plant poison. It's what Socrates drank 400 years earlier when Athens sentenced him to death. Hemlock shuts the body down slowly, starting from the feet. Seneca drank it, but he was too old, too thin, too cold. The poison barely worked. His body refused to let him go quickly. Finally, he was carried into a warm bath. The heat did what the blade and the poison could not. The blood flowed. He spent his final hours dictating philosophy to a scribe. That is premeditatio malorum, lived to its conclusion. Seneca had walked to the end of this scenario hundreds of times in his mind. He had sat with it, examined it, accepted it. When the officer arrived, there was no surprise left, no flinch. The worst case had already been faced in the dark, alone, years before it showed up at his door. The fear had nothing left to use against him. So tonight, if you find yourself awake, running through the worst versions of tomorrow, try something different. Don't fight it. Follow it. Slowly, all the way to the bottom. You'll find a floor down there. It won't be pretty, but it'll be solid. And then come back up. Breathe. You're still here. If this was useful, subscribe so the next one finds you. Until next time.